Do you still use email? Well, if you do, the question is, do you have a list, like an email list? Episode 35. Have you got an email list? Well, I want to talk to you today about the idea of having a list. And when we talk about lists, it may seem like some of you may be thinking like, well, it's what's the deal now? Because people don't use email anymore. But is that true? Do you still use email? Do you use email as your main source of communication? I believe many of us we still do that. In fact, email is probably one of the best ways to get to people's attention. And if you want people's attention, if you want the attention of your community, of course, email is the way. But the question is, how do you build an email, and how do you build an email list, and what exactly do you need to do to build an email list? Well, first up, I think gone are the days where building an email list is something that is hard and it is expensive. But this days, just about anyone can do that. And if you are not doing it, I think you are truly missing out. Because number one is that I think many people are thinking that on social media itself, you will be able to build a community, you are able to build an audience. While that is true, I like to differentiate the difference between what is an audience and what is a community. Now, and you might get an audience on social media. You might get a group of people who pay attention to you on social media. But these people may not necessarily be in your community. They may be your followers. They may want to, look at whatever you are creating. For whatever reasons, but the truth of the matter is that these people are not part of your community. The only way that they are part of your community, it's where they feel that, by taking the very action that you have been telling them, it's going to lead to an impact. It's going to help them in their life. If they do not see that, then, they are just followers. So it's like, if you look at the difference between, let's say, people who are fans of a particular singer, for example. I mean, you could passively, just leisurely listen to Taylor Swift, but it's quite different for you to be a fan of Taylor Swift itself. So, that has to be that difference. And the difference is that, the people who are part of your community, they are more inclined to want to take the very action that you are sharing with them, vis-a-vis people in the audience itself. Right. So, with that away, the other thing is that you need to understand that on social media itself, there are two key mistakes that many people make, myself included. So number one is that we think that, we are going to be able to rely on social media to bring us the customers. If you believe that to be so, I think you are sorely disappointed, because the primary aim of social media is to get people to stay as long as they can in that platform, and to be able to interact in the platform itself, such that they see the platform as the place for them to go, the place for them to interact, and the place for them to get news, information, entertainment, whatnot. Now, these people, they have absolutely no interest. They are definitely not acting in your interest at all. The reason is because you are just one of the many, right? And they have absolutely no interest whatsoever in your business. So if you're going to be building on their platform itself, I think it's only a matter of time that you may experience some kind of disappointment, because at any point in time, they could, at their own discretion, for whatever reason and whatever thing that they can say, they could literally just take away your presence on that platform itself. So you're going to be left hanging, high and dry without that access that you thought you had. So that's the thing with social media. The other thing with social media is that I was just chatting with a someone who it's part of my community, and someone who is a dear friend of mine as well from the UK. And so we were just sharing our own experiences, and I was just telling him, I said that I think one of the mistakes that I made was I niched down too fast on social media, because you need to understand, like, social media, it's like a supermarket. You have lots of people who go in there. Sometimes people go in there for a specific reason. Sometimes people go in there because that's where they go. Sometimes people go there because they do not know what to do. And perhaps, if I may broaden that analogy, think of social media as just like a shopping mall, right? So there are people who have to go to the shopping mall because that is the place where they are able to do business. So these people could be shop owners or operators at the mall itself. Now, there's another group of people who would go to the mall because they just want to go to the mall. They have no specific intention whatsoever, but they just want to go to the mall and they just want to see what's going on. Now, there's another group of people who just want to go to the mall and they have a specific intention, and their intention is they want to go to a particular shop, right? And and so if you think about social media, it's a little bit like a shopping mall, that you have a huge group of people going there. And what you want to do is that you want to be able to get people to come into your store. Now, if you are a very specialized store, for example, like you are a store that only sells, watch straps, right? You do not sell watches, you only sell watch straps. The chances of you getting a lot of traffic into your store, it's going to be quite minimal, because people who go into your store, they go into that store specifically for a purpose, right? They want to get watch straps. However, people who are there to get a drink, it is unlikely that they are going to go into your store unless they're absolutely curious, unless there is a way for you to get them to come into the store to try out the products, to enjoy the experience. Otherwise, there is no reason for them to want to go into that store. And so on social media itself, you want to think less like a watch strap store. You want to think more like a departmental store or a specialized supermarket, right? And so when I say specialized supermarket, I am referring to the fact that you do not just want to be a supermarket that be everything and anything to everyone, but you want to be a specialized supermarket. For example, you are a supermarket that only sells vegan stuff, right? Things that are plant-based. That's what you sell. And people may go in there for food. People may go in there for supplies. People may go in there for washing products, whatever, right? But you that's your specialty, and you basically do not attract people who are not interested in plant-based products. And that's a very different from, I'm just going to be a plant-based facial cleanser shop, because that becomes way too niche. And because it becomes way too niche, there isn't going to be much traffic into that store. And the thing is that when it doesn't get much traffic into the store, and people walk past the store and they see that, well, not many people in there, they would not stop by as well. And so that was my mistake. My mistake was to go too niche and become too technical, so much so that you alienate a lot of people. Either people become totally disengaged, they are not interested in it, or they become they just think that the whole concept is just too foreign to them, and so they pass you by. So that's one thing that you have to understand, that on social media you have to be broad enough, because like it or not, social media is still at the top of the funnel, and I'll get into that a little bit. But social media is still right at the top, and so unless you are able to get a lot of people at the top to come in, right, along the way you're going to lose people. And if you're just going to attract like 10 people, then of course along the way you're just going to end up with none. But if you're able to at least bring in like hundreds, thousands of people, then the possibility of you getting to that few, it's possible. Now, so how does this link to email? So the point I want to make is that if you're relying on somebody else's platform to do your business, you're in for disappointment. And secondly, I need to tell you that email still works. The reason is because I have got an email list of about, slightly more than a few hundred people. And for the longest time, I haven't been very actively emailing them. But the last couple of weeks, because of this entire lockdown, and I have just gone into experimentation mode. Basically, I'm just looking at an idea, quickly test it to validate that, and to build a tool to be able to help me validate that very quickly, very inexpensively, and to just validate and see whether that idea has legs. And out of the 5 things that I put out there, between about 3 or 4 of them has worked, right? People have responded to it. I've even seen campaigns whereby I get like 200% returns. So there are certain things that work, and there are certain things that do not work. And of course, once you find that thing that work, you just want to double down on that, right? It's as simple as that. So, I mean, if I were to ask you, if you have access to a machine that every time you put in $30, it spits out $90 at you, how much money would you put into that machine? And the answer would be, yeah. If you know the answer, type it in the comments. But the answer would be this: you would put in as much money as you can. You would sell your stuff, you would sell the house, you would sell everything, right? And you would put that in, because if this machine is able to give me, a 200% return, well, why not, right? So, for that to work itself, you need to have a system to very quickly build that up and to test it out, right? So like I said, it has to be inexpensive, it has to be fast to build, and you can quickly test that out. And once you test it out, you will know whether it's something that is going to work or not. So where does the email list comes in? Now, of course, the truth of the matter is that to build something like this, you need to put in a ton of research. It's not something that you could like do overnight, right? But that said, if you do a good research on that, you would be able to find something, profitable and possibly sustainable to look at. So, like, if you are interested, you should really check out this webinar that I am conducting tomorrow. Yes, tomorrow that is. And this is the site itself. And so, this is where I will be teaching you how to use a specific technique, a specific methodology, as well as the tools that you can use to figure out what is it that people want, and or if people are even searching for the solution that you have. So that is something that you could look at. It has a modest amount of investment in there, both time and money, but I assure you it's going to be worth a while, because it's a valuable skill to have. Because once you know this skill, it's any time, any point in time, if you have an idea, you could launch into this process and figure out if people are searching for your solution, instead of guessing, instead of assuming that that's what people want. So that's phase one. But once you got to that phase itself, you then have a sizable number of people who comes into your ecosystem. And once they come into your ecosystem itself, the next thing that you definitely want to do is to figure out, right? You want to figure out what is it that they want, right? What is it that they want? Hi, Fateh. Thank you. So you want to figure out what is it that they want. And of course, once you are able to figure out what they want from this group of community, the next thing you want to do is that you want to build an email list. You want to build a list. You want to be able to nurture them. You want to be able to guide them, to teach them, to educate them, and to help them achieve results. So the way to do this really is, I call it build your flywheel, because it's a list of steps that you put together. And once you put together that step itself, you would then be able to figure out, how you could automate that, and how that's going to help you in the whole process itself, right? So we've launched the first episode. And so if you sign up today, every day for the next couple of days, what's going to happen is you're going to receive an email in your inbox. If for whatever reason you do not get an email, send an email to me directly and I'll get it to you. What's going to happen is that you're going to get an email each for 4 days, and each of these 4 days you're going to get access to one lesson of Build Your Flywheel. So every day I'm going to be talking about the various topics. So day one, which is today, I'm going to be talking about the new normal. What exactly is the new normal? A lot of people talk about, that it's going to change. Yes, things will change, but there are things that still remain the same. So do not be hoodwinked by people who try to tell you that, everything has changed. Well, yes, a lot of things have changed, but there are certain things that still remain the same, right? And that's what we want to go after, because we want to make sure that whatever we are putting in place is based on fundamentals. It's not based on fad. It's not based on a seasonal thing. It is based on fundamentals. As long as you build your business on fundamentals, pandemic or not, it is going to last, right? With a smart way of doing things, it's definitely going to last. So that's going to be the first lesson. So the second lesson, it's really, I want to be able to cue you in terms of, if you talk about content marketing in the last 5 years, today the content marketing really it's in a way online courses, but not the way that self-paced learning online courses that you have been familiar with, and that is ineffective. But the way that we look at online courses is that it's short, it is impactful, and it gives you actionable advice. It shows you how to do certain things, and it gets you result, right? Yes, there may be a modest fee involved, but the fact is that it will get you results. So it's not one of those pitch that is disguised in a form of, let me show you behind the scene how this is working and all that stuff. But it's real stuff. It is things that we have tried and tested, and we know that it works, and we're going to be sharing it with you, right? And so that's exclusive to members only later on. But the point is that we want to be able to show you how it works, right? So that's lesson 2. Now, lesson 3 is where we talked about, once you know that this is the new normal, that online learning is the way to go. The next thing really is to look at the idea of what I call catalytic courses. Now, catalytic courses basically it goes something like this. You are familiar with the know, like, and trust framework, right? That people need to know you, then they could like you, and then they would trust you. However, to go from trust to buy, it's actually a big jump, right? And sometimes, there is a lot of resistance, not because they do not trust you. I mean, they really trust you, but there is still a lot of resistance. So the way to think about it is, how do you bridge the gap between trust and buy? So for the longest time, in the software industry, people have been calling that the freemium model, that they give you access to a very basic version of the solution. But if you want bells and whistles, then you would have to pay for it. And so that is the freemium model. So how do we take that freemium model and apply it to the online world, right? Apply it to the world of online learning, and using online learning as that bridge, rather than it's an end in itself. So what I like to do is to share with you the technique, as well as the framework and the thinking behind it, as well as the tools that you could use to create that catalytic course. So, to kind of cue in, what happened is that, from know, like, and trust, they need to try you out, right? They need to try you out at a low risk, low cost approach, right? Without them breaking the bank, without you costing you an arm and limb. They have to try you out. And once they try you out, they're going to love it. And once they love it, they are going to want to do business with you. So that's the key idea. And of course, in the last lesson itself, I'm going to be sharing with you how you're going to be putting them together. And so that is called, building your flywheel. How do you put everything together into an automated system, whereby you are able to deploy this in a very quick, low-cost manner to test out your ideas very quickly. And then once you know that that idea is the one that, works, that's where you double down. That's where you put in your investment and you double down on that, right? Because right now, for some people, right now, financially, it's not something that they are comfortable with, and that we understand. And so, I am, queuing you in on that. Okay, so if you want to find out more, check out buildyourflywheel.com. And if you want the real impact of the whole process itself, or at least one part of the process itself, join me tomorrow at 8 p.m. Singapore time for the webinar, and I'll take you through the steps that you would take in order to find out whether something works or not. Once again, the link is there in the comments. There's going to be a modest amount of investment, both in terms of your time as well as money. But I assure you, it's going to be something that is worthwhile. And you have access to that recording if you are unable to attend in person or live. Okay, so that's all I have for you today. I must tell you, today has been a long day for me, and frankly, I'm going to bed right after this. But thank you so much for being here with me, and for letting me know that you are here with me. I truly appreciate that. It's been 35 episodes. I'll tell you more tomorrow about what's going on in my mind right now. But until then, you take care, stay safe. And this is Melvin. I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now. Bye-bye.